Good evening, everyone, and welcome to When the Shift Hits the Fan. And my name's Mark Jeffrey, and I'm here once again with my beautiful co-host, Linda Lehman. And yep, the shift almost did hit the fan. I just about didn't make it here tonight. But, of course, the angels sung with me and got me here on time. We've been talking in the last few weeks about our stories of what we went through. Just Linda this past year and me a few years ago, but it seems like yesterday. And we were talking about just the different things that we've learned in this process. And I know for me, a lot of the things that I learned and earned were quite surprising to me. I'll give you an example here, just on my end of it, is that I know that I didn't really have a lot of patience for almost anything. I was always like, get it done now, and I didn't have time or patience for people that, took a long time to make decisions, or I just, and we talked about this, just a bull in the china shop kind of gal. And I learned patience, and I think one of the reasons was, and Linda, I think you'll be able to kind of identify with this as well, is you just can't have anything, like things don't move. When you're right in the middle of being diagnosed with cancer and learning about what kind of treatments you have to have and all of those things, you have to be patient because it won't move any faster than what it does, no matter how much you want it to. And it's interesting because they go, okay, you have stage 4 cancer and you're going to die, and we can see you in 6 weeks. What? And I'm sure you kind of felt the same way with your diagnosis and the treatment and the time frame, right, Linda?
I did, Mark. From the time I finally started seeking, verification, seeking the diagnosis to the point in time where treatment started was a span of several months. And I see this in people all the time, the impatience, the oh my goodness, I've just been told I have cancer, I need to take care of it yesterday. And so they panic, and then they start making decisions based out of fear and panic instead of based out of logic and research. And even with, Mark, the logic and the research, there is an impatience because, at first I thought that I knew exactly what I wanted to have done. But then there was a huge gap between the time that my the hospital where I had my initial studies done and then the time where I was able to get my appointment scheduled with the hospital I was being referred to and the group I wanted to be referred to. There was a pretty big time frame in there, and I was impatient, and there was a mix-up in getting records sent from point A to point B, and it's frustrating. But at that point, we really need to take a step back, and instead of getting frustrated and aggravated over the time, and I know this is hard for some people to grasp, but we really need to look at that time as a gift. And that gift is to give us a moment to step back and decide how we're going to respond to this, all of this that's going on, versus just doing an immediate knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah,
Does
and
that make sense?
Yeah, and don't we do that in life though too? I mean, and that's why we're correlating a lot of this stuff, because having cancer, having a life adjusted like that, amplifies everything, emotions and how you feel about things. I mean, everything seems to be bigger and stuff, but don't we also do that in all cases? You're losing your job, or your job's going to be changed, and you don't know how it's going to be changed, so you don't sleep for a whole week ahead of it, borrowing all that trouble when you find out, oh, not you, that one over there. Or relationships. Your husband comes home a half an hour late, and you're on shaky ground, and you think, oh, he's he's cheating. We really do go mental in our heads all the time, borrowing trouble, borrowing pain, borrowing agony. And that's the one thing I think I learned the most, is that whatever will be, will be. So why don't you all just sit back, have a drink, and wait till it comes, and then figure out what you're going to do with it, rather than out there chasing trouble or looking for it when it doesn't even come to your door like that. Wow, what a stressful way to live. No wonder, we have wrinkles and stuff, because we're just so stressed about things that simply, in most cases, don't even matter.
Exactly, Mark. We get ourselves into such a, and I'll use a Southern term here, a tizzy, hissy fit, that we start inventing with our imagination all of these horrible things that are going to happen. And the key with that is, number one, most of the time, none of those horrible things happen. But some of the times, we focused on those horrible things so much that we actually create it in our lives.
Yeah, we do. We create it.
Yeah. If we just sat back and said, okay, they've given me the black and white. Now what am I going to do with it?
Well, and we do it all the time. Like you have a bad sleep, okay? What's I'm going to feel crappy tomorrow. Well, yeah, you are. You just told yourself you were. And people just brush stuff like that off. Like I don't do that anymore, because I think I was probably, I know I was guilty of doing that. Like pounding my pillow, like, if I don't get another hour's sleep, like tomorrow I'm too busy, and then of course I'm not sleeping, because then I'm already working into tomorrow, figuring out what I'm doing and not relaxing or doing that. But now I'm just like, it's fine. You can survive on 2 hours sleep. You've done it before. You can do it again. Rest tomorrow night. All will be good. And the next thing you know, I'm waking up at 7 going, wow. Somewhere in the middle of that thought process, I was out like a light.
Exactly. And it's so easy to do that, Mark. I mean, I love to give the example in webinars that I do and people I coach with of, you get up in the morning, the alarm goes off, you're dreadful of that alarm, you finally crawl out of bed, and you stub your toe. And you get mad about the fact that you stubbed your toe, and it hurt, and it hurt, and it hurt, and then the next thing you know, you realize that you didn't set up the coffee pot the next morning, and so now you're running late for work because then you had to do all the coffee thing, and then you finally get that first sip of coffee, and you spill it on your blouse, and then you're still complaining about the toe, and now you spilled this on your blouse, and now you're running even later, and you're frantic about that. You finally find some outfit that you can put together, and then you get out of the door, and you're saying, oh, man, now I'm so late that the traffic is going to be just horrible. And now the traffic is horrible, and everybody that you meet on the freeway is angry and mad, and they didn't get their coffee either. And you get to work, and you're late, and sure enough, the boss is standing there looking at their wrist, tapping their foot, going, you're late again. And realistically, you have created this entire scenario. Now, if you would rewind it, you get up in the morning and you stub your toe. If you were to just laugh at yourself and say, you know what, that table has been there since the day I moved into this house or this apartment. It's silly of me to stub my toe. Oh, ha, ha, that's funny. You take a deep breath, and then you just cruise through the rest of your morning, and then you find that everything flows as it should. You get on the highway, and you're enjoying the drive. The day is beautiful. The sky is blue. And in that mindset, in that attitude, you look to your left and your right, and the people around you are singing to their radio, they're smiling, they're laughing, and you have a good time, and you get to work on time. And it's just because you didn't allow that stubbed toe to create this horrible day.
And, and bringing that up too, people say, oh, you can't create that. How many times have you cut yourself or bruised yourself. And until you actually see it, it doesn't hurt.
Mhm.
Okay, so what did you create? You created the pain because your mind made the connection. Oh, blood. I must have cut myself. That must have hurt. And so it does. But if you never saw it, like if for some reason the whole day you were just dropping blood everywhere, but you never saw it, your finger would not have hurt because it doesn't make that connection. And our minds, and I think that's what I learned the most. My mind really does monitor me, and and my body is an amazing machine. It's going through some trials and tribulations right now that I'm dealing with that I'm unhappy about because I had, everything was kind of like normal in my life, and then my thyroid decided to, my body decided to attack my thyroid and say, we don't like you anymore, get out. And now I'm sitting there trying to regulate everything. And half the time I think I'm working against my body and trying to do this, and it's working harder against me. So yeah, I'm getting a little frustrated with this process because it just seems to be getting worse than better. But again, and we talked about this just the other day, how frustrated I was. And I thought, well, you're not doing any good with this because you're just mad all over about it. Do something about it. So yeah, I made an appointment, went to my naturopath that helped me through my cancer process, and he said, yeah, well, you know what? We can probably balance this with a little bit of that and a little bit of this, and let's work on that, and then let's get you for a massage because you look like crap. Yeah, okay. So I jumped in there and I took everything with me. I did it. And we all do that. And in this case, it actually took somebody else, but I made the effort. It was someone else. I needed someone else to get me out of the place I was. And I'm dealing with someone right now, Linda, that and this doesn't happen anymore, but when you have really bad cancer or anything, a car accident or something, the drugs that they use to manage your pain are, very addictive. Okay, so if you're an addictive personality, they make you feel really good. I mean, Oxy is like that. I mean, now they don't even make it where you can chew it because that's what people are doing. I mean, an instant high, and that's why people got addicted. And, they don't try to prescribe things like that, but they are very effective at managing pain. But it also triggers, so many different things in our brain to make us feel good. Not only does it manage pain, but it triggers certain things in our mind that gives us, that's why they're called happy pills. And I'm dealing with this guy right now who was given all of those drugs and now is addicted. And he's a lawyer, okay? He was seeing clients. He lost 30 pounds. His partners were, he's such a good lawyer that he actually was a good lawyer despite being, schwacked half the time he was in court or dealing with people. But what happened was a friend of his was in a car accident and very seriously injured. And he was in this room where they were having this conversation about the drugs that he was going to take, and he was telling them, we're not going to give you these types of drugs because they're addictive and it's worse getting off. But I wasn't there, so I didn't hear the whole conversation. But that was the thing for this guy, and this guy just turned around to the doctor and said, I'm addicted. Now what do I do? It had another conversation. He didn't even, like he said to me, I didn't even know. I thought I was in control. I thought I was in control. And then when I heard this doctor saying, you're going to feel like you're in control, you're not going to, but you are going to be addicted. Because when you can't not take them, and you don't have pain anymore, then you're addicted. And so we're going to monitor you very closely. And interestingly, I found out something, the drugs of Oxy that are out on the street are the chewable kind. They're the kind that, you can get wrecked pretty fast, and the kind that you're prescribed are time release now. So you don't get that real big high. But it's interesting how, things that happen outside of us can bring us a realization internally. And you have to either be in the place or make the effort to get the help that you need. And I find that when I get frustrated now, I really have to stop and say, okay, wait a second. You're not doing any good, and you don't have the answers anyways, because if you did, you wouldn't be frustrated. So time to take, like you said, Linda, your gut reaction, right?
Mhm. Exactly. Those gut reactions or those knee-jerk reactions are really programmed in there. That's part of our programming when we're kids. It's our body's way of trying to protect us from the boogeyman, and I really don't want to talk lightly about that, but this is what it's about, is knee-jerk reactions, quick reactions to different situations are our automatic responses, our body's way of protecting us, because that's the way it's protected us in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're right, Mark, we do have to make that effort to step back and, number one, say, let me look at this from a different perspective. Number two, why? Why do I want to react to this the way I'm reacting? Does it warrant it? In other words, that fight or flight instinct comes out. Do I need to run because something bad is chasing me and is about to happen? Or do I need to stop and assess the situation a little bit further? And that assessment is what we're not used to doing. But that assessment is our key to getting through these situations calmly, collected, and in a better place once we're through it.
Yep, you bet. And that's where we say, the freedom's earned. We were talking about that, the discoveries that we had and the freedom that you earn. That is a freedom you earn, is when you can, because you'll never feel more free than when you're in control. Wacky-do, but that's really true.
Oh, exactly. Exactly, Mark. I mean, we are built to be in control. We're meant to be in control. We want to be in control, but sometimes without us even being consciously aware of it, we ourselves are not in control because we're allowing past circumstances, past situations, past responses to dictate how we're going to react to this particular situation.
Mhm. Yep, and it's interesting too for me. I don't, and it's not even growing up or maturing. I don't even think, because I think some people can make it through their whole entire life without anything dramatic happening, and they can stay in a childlike euphoria until they die. I mean, there are some people that's what their lives are like. Some people, nothing bothers them. You can poke them in the eye, and they'll just turn the other cheek. Some people are just like that. I'm definitely not one of those people. I have to work at things, at all things. When other people frustrate me, I have to make a conscious decision to not get baited by it. And I think, and we're talking entrepreneurs a lot too, you can really, watching them, I know I'm going in 1,000 different directions here. I think synapses hanging in my brain here. But you can really get caught up in the ego of who you are and lose sight of the objective of what you started to do. And I know you and I have seen that with a lot of friends that are, in marketing and out there as an entrepreneur, and the limelight kind of got the best of them, where, who we kind of knew as true people or maybe they are showing their true colors. I guess I don't really know the answer to that really. But once they started to get, notoriety, their whole personality and who they were as a person changed to reflect that notoriety. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, Linda.
No, you are, and
they got sucked into the vortex.
They got sucked in, and then I think you hit it on the head. The ego took over instead of the true higher self. They allowed the ego to come to the forefront, and then all of a sudden they found themselves being led by that ego, and it's almost like an addiction, Mark. You don't know you don't know how to stop it.
Yeah, well, this is what we're talking about, the things that pull us away from our center, and even the best of people. And you know what? It is, for me, Linda, I am so grateful that I have friends that will kick my ass.
Me too.
Totally. Totally. Run me right over if I act like that. And so I'm grateful because I know that even if the wild child, goes left of center, somebody's going to grab me and say, okay, get over yourself. And I sometimes feel sorry because for some of those people, nobody's there to tell them you're making a fool out of yourself. And it's sad. And then it gets to the point, and you're right, where they get sucked into that vortex where you can't say anything now because then you're the spoil sport or you're jealous of my success. And the reality is not. You're still just saying, no, you're actually making a fool out of yourself.
Yeah, I'm really trying to be helpful here.
Yeah, but
you
okay.
can only see it through my eyes instead of your eyes.
And yeah, so I guess on the flip side of that, if you do have friends and they're telling you that, you're not thinking straight, and we'll go back to the addiction, or somebody says, are you all right or not all right? You know what? Let's live in reality. Let's make a choice to live in the reality of we're not perfect people. Some days we're going to make, critical mass mistakes. We're going to say the wrong thing. But if we have people in our lives that will support us and tell us, we need to listen. I mean, that's you have to listen to people. If they're your friend. I mean, I've lost friends, and I think maybe you have too, Linda, where we just said, you're crazier than a pet coon, and you got to get that straightened out, and you never saw them again. Because they're off to someone else who will support their addiction or their ridiculousness. They'll find those people and they'll hang out with them.
Exactly, Mark. It's the people who will agree with them no matter what.
Yeah. So Linda kicks my ass when I do stupid things, and I would do the same for her, but she does less stupid things than I do.
Who's keeping score?
But that's why we're kind of the yin and the yang of the shift, and that's why the perspectives that we have are paralleled, but they're not identical too. So we hope that all of you out there that are listening can kind of see the balance that we bring to each other. I'm loud and kind of brash and will do stuff, and Linda's the quieter, sensible person until you light a fire under her, and then you got to be watching out about that.
Then you better back up.
Yeah. I know I didn't say I was going to say that out loud, but I did.
I will. And you know what? The true friends who know me are going, Linda, calm, cool, and collected. I have to tell you, and I'll tell our listeners, if you want to understand effort, you should have known me in my 20s. Because this calm, collected, let's think this through, let's see how we can have a win for both of us attitude. No, it wasn't there. I was a take the bull by the horns, act, and then think afterwards. so what you see today is truly an evolution, and I love it, and I'm grateful for it. But it took years of effort. It took years of practice. You know, my older brother was always, I think, the brunt of a lot of my anger, my younger years. And, you know, he was the first one to tell you that, you know, even then, on the surface, I may have looked calm, cool, and collected, and he basically would tell people, be careful, because you can push her too far, and she may overlook the first or the second, but you're not going to see the third coming.
Yeah.
And I remember one day he had to actually duck because, you know, that's way back when wooden platform shoes were in vogue, way back when. And he came in one time too many to tell me to hurry up because he was giving me a ride. And I think to this day there's still a dent in the wall where he ducked because the shoe went sailing. So,
yeah.
You know, okay, so I tell a story on myself, and today I wouldn't do that, but it took effort, I think is the example here. I wanted to live life on a higher level and a higher plane. And so I took the steps, did the research, did the study, took the true human effort to step back and ask myself those questions. Why do I want to react this way? Why am I responding this way? Am I in danger? What is a better solution to this situation?
Yeah, and I think sometimes I think it go both ways, you guys, because sometimes you can always land on your feet. I mean, I'm kind of like that. I can get myself into the worst trouble, but I always land on my feet. So sometimes I never learn. You know, there are some things I will never learn, and it's just because I've consistently throughout my life just landed on my feet. And my mom used to say that, like, you know, you're a cat with I don't know how many lives. And so in that regard, there's a lot of lessons that I don't need to be calm because I'm a good apologizer. You know, I learned to adapt some very, very bad skills, and I try very hard to be charitable. Like, I'm a nice person, but I think, anyways. But there are some things I've never learned, and I always appreciate, and I hang out with people like Linda who have taken the time and they have earned their stripes on that. And I can hope that if I just rub up to them enough, that it'll rub off on me and I will become a calmer person. But those people do. Like when you're totally out of control, those are the people in your life where you can ring them up and say, okay, I'm totally out of control. And they will help you do the logical steps through it. And again, that's what I'm going to say. That's what I'm going to say about my journey and the discoveries that I had that was unexpected to me, was just that I am a better person because of cancer. And so in that regard, it was a gift.
Well, I also believe that my cancer diagnosis, Mark, was a gift, and I look at it as the gift to be able to share with other women that this doesn't have to be a death sentence. This doesn't have to be the end of the world. We can pull through this, and we can land on the other side of this in a much, much better place than where we began it.
Mm-hmm. And I truly believe that as well. And I mean, I bear the scars. There are some things you know what? But I don't look back and say, oh, if I wouldn't have cancer, I would be blah, blah, blah. You know, I never, ever do that. That's so self-defeating. It's like, and we'll get into this next week because it's a big subject about wishing upon a star and not living in reality. That's a huge issue for a lot of people. So, and we've run out of time again.
just chit-chatting here about, my goofy self and my wonderful friend. So yeah, we'll talk about this next week a little bit more because I think it's important.
I agree, Mark, and I'll take the last word here. I want to kind of pull it back in about our mind. We are all, and you and I have given some really good examples here in situations, but what we're really talking about is the power that all of us have within us. I mean, we're truly, all of us, more powerful than we have thus far imagined possible. So I wanted to share a quote, a poem from one of my favorite authors from the early 1900s, because I think that this particular piece I study quite often, and I can spend an hour or more just reading this over and over again and just kind of thinking about the words and the true meaning here. So I just want to share it with our listeners because it really is impactful, and it shows us the power that we have. And this is from James Allen. He wrote this wonderful book called As a Man Thinketh. And he says, mind is the master power that molds and makes, and man is mind, and evermore he takes the tool of thought, and, shaping what he wills, brings forth 1,000 joys, 1,000 ills. He thinks in secret, and it comes to pass. Environment is but his looking glass. So with that, Mark, I say good night.
And from Mark here in Canada, I also bid you good night. We'll see you on the flip side, guys. Have a great evening.